All right, court is calling 2022 CR 11862, State of Texas versus Alexander Castro. Can I have parties announced for the record, please, for the state and for the defense?
Gary Hillier and Jasmine Olguin for Mr. Castro.
And are you Mr. Castro?
Castro.
All right. Is there anything anyone wanted to discuss before the jury's brought in?
Very briefly, Judge, if
Yes.
you may. Your Honor, I just wanted to, I think we might have done it yesterday, but it was a long day. So I want to make sure for the purpose of protecting the record that my running objection to the makeup of the jury panel is overruled for the rest of the trial. I don't have to make it again.
Oh, well, the record will reflect what it reflects, counsel.
Oh, okay, Judge. Well, in that case, then I'll better do it again. I just want to make sure that the record shows that we object to the panel as seated, because for the reasons stated yesterday, juror number 20, panel member number 24, I tried to strike her for cause because she's a clerk in this court and she'd seen documents in this case which we believe is improper. She was not struck for cause and we had to use a peremptory strike on her. I asked for an extra peremptory, which the court denied. And then we had to strike another juror who made it. Well, we didn't get to strike a juror who made it onto the panel. I believe that was juror number 31. And the reason we would have struck him was because he was involved in a rear end accident where he was injured and his mother was injured. And that's why. And so we just would like a record to reflect we want to run an objection to the panel so I don't have to make it again, please, Your Honor.
Okay. I mean, the record is what it is.
I've made
Yes.
it. So I think, is it,
all right.
Judge, can I have a ruling on that, please? Just for the record.
What I previously ruled. Yes, I previously ruled on it, counsel.
Right.
But what I can tell you is that both the state and defense agreed that the panel member that you had an objection to, the items that panel member would have seen was the indictment. The indictment is going to be read to the jury. The other item that the panel member may have seen was the fact that your client is on bond. And usually counsels who are representing clients, what they don't want someone to know is that their client is in custody.
That's correct, Judge. They're the
right.
documents she'd seen. Yeah, don't disagree with
All right, see, you say that in other documents, but both parties agreed that she had seen perhaps two documents, the fact that he was on bond and the fact that she's seen an indictment in this case, and that she's only been in this court since May. So we're going to bring the jurors in.
And the last thing is, Your Honor, we're going to invoke the rule after opening and
just invoke it.
Yeah, okay, Judge. We'll invoke the rule then, Your Honor, and we still want to check with the state that we are, I don't know what order they're bringing their witnesses in, Judge, so that we don't have to, so I'm not disturbing the court's flow of trial. If Officer Morgan is first, if he's coming, I don't know. We would like a Jackson versus Dano hearing outside the presence with him. When Detective Martinez comes.
All right, so this is what we'll do. The state is going to call their witnesses. And then guess what? If either one of you all need the jury to step outside because we need to have a hearing, just approach, just tell me, Judge, may we approach?
Go ahead, Judge.
And I will know that means that you all want the jury to be excused. I will excuse them and we will have the hearing.
I can do that, Judge.
All right.
Judge. Thank you.
All right, let's bring the jurors in.
All right, for the jury.
All right, everyone, please be seated. I hope that everyone was able to find a parking space in the parking garage. All right, and remember my previous instructions. If you ever need a break, just do the break sign and we will see it. And also, if you're ever having trouble where you can't hear what a witnesses are saying or the questions that are being asked, just raise your hand and let us know, because both parties want you to be able to hear everything. All right? So you all were given an oath downstairs, and that was a general oath, but I need to give you an oath for this specific case. So if each of you will raise your right hand for me, please. Do each of you solemnly swear and affirm in the case of the state versus Alexander Castro, you will a true verdict render according to the law and evidence, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. State.
Yes, Your Honor. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bear County, state of Texas, duly organized and paneled and sworn as such at November term AD 2022 of the 175th District Court of said county and said court at said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state of aforesaid and inferior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the 22nd day of July 2022, Alexander Castro, did recklessly cause the death of an individual, namely Alexandria Seibert, hereinafter referred to as the plaintiff, by driving and operating a motor vehicle at a speed that was not reasonable and prudent under the circumstances then existing, failing to keep a proper lookout, failing to apply brakes in a timely manner, failing to take a proper and necessary evasive action to avoid colliding with another motor vehicle, failing to maintain a proper following distance, operating a motor vehicle after consuming alcohol, operating a motor vehicle while impaired by reason of the introduction of alcohol into the body, and the said acts and omissions resulted in the motor vehicle driven and operated by the defendant colliding into a motor vehicle occupied by the department. Deadly weapon allegation, and it is further presented into said court that the defendant did use and exhibit a deadly weapon, to wit, a motor vehicle, that in the manner of use and intended use is capable of causing death and serious bodily injury during the commission of this offense against the peace and dignity of the state. Signed, jury, the foreman of the grand jury.
To that, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
All right, thank you. State, do you have any opening statements?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed.
On July 22nd of 2022, Alexandria Seibert was heading home. She had just spent the day with her boyfriend, Josh. They went golfing, they went out to dinner, they went back to Josh's apartment and watched a movie. Her home was her parents' house. In order to get there, she had to go north on 281. While she was on 281, she ran into traffic. Traffic as far as the eye could see. You're going to hear from Officer Morgan. He's a 3-year San Antonio Police Department officer. He was responding to the cause of the traffic. It was a car crash that happened further north on 281. Now, while responding to this car crash, Officer Morgan was notified of another car crash. It happened further south on 281. He was in his patrol vehicle. He got out and he started walking over. But then he started running because he saw several cars that were very damaged. He ended up talking to 2 of the drivers of those damaged cars. One of those drivers was the defendant, Alexander Castro. Now, while talking to the defendant, Officer Morgan noticed a 3rd vehicle that had been heavily damaged. It was a little further south. He ran. Inside that car was Alexandra Seibert. She was unconscious. She had an open head wound. She was bleeding heavily. She never woke up from that. EMS came and took her to University Hospital, and Officer Morgan began his part of the investigation. Now, Officer Morgan's a patrol officer. Whenever there's a potentially fatal crash, patrol officers have to call SAPD's Traffic Investigation Division. They're the experts when it comes to car crashes. They can recreate, they can figure out how this happened. Officer Morgan didn't have any eyewitnesses who could directly say exactly what happened. So all of the drivers that were involved were kept at the scene so that they can talk to TID. But Officer Morgan made a mistake. TID told him to follow up. He didn't. While conducting his investigation, he spoke with the defendant several times. You're going to hear that. He asked why things happened. You're going to hear what the defendant had to say. TID eventually realized that there was no follow-up. So several hours after, they made the scene, spoke to the drivers, and began their investigation. You're going to hear from several of the witnesses, several of the people who were on the highway when this happened. They did not see what happened. One of the witnesses was involved. His car was half crushed in due to the defendant's car hitting him at a high speed. You're going to hear from several 911 callers who saw the traffic, who saw the long line, and decided to exit because that's how far away you could see this. They had enough time to exit. One of the 911 callers saw the defendant's vehicle speed down 281, approaching all the cars that were waiting there in traffic. He didn't see the accident. He saw the debris fly in the air. He heard the actual crash. You're going to hear from now Sergeant Martinez. She was a detective at the time with TID. She was the primary detective that was investigating this case. She looked at the roadway evidence. She looked at data from both Alexandra's car and the defendant's car. And she was able to calculate and figure out exactly how fast the defendant was going. He was going over 90 miles per hour. He never hit his brakes. He never made any attempt to avoid any of the cars that were so vulnerable there. State's asking you to listen to the evidence. Just think about what we're presenting. Officer Morgan was disciplined for what happened, for not following up. He was also disciplined for not further investigating. And you'll hear from him why that happened, what happened there. But don't let that failure on Officer Morgan's part cloud you and how reckless the defendant's actions were. So the state's asking you again to listen and to judge how reckless his actions were that night.
Defense, any opening statements?
May I proceed?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. You guys want to see that? You want me to see that?
No. Okay. And state and all attorneys, please feel free to move about the courtroom if you are unable to view an item.
Thank you, Judge. This case is a tragedy. It's a tragedy. We have to acknowledge that up front. It is a tragedy. And Alexandra Saber lost her life as a result of this tragedy. But this tragedy is not a crime. And I'm going to tell you why it's not a crime. And I can agree with some things that Mr. Escobar said, but I disagree with others. I'm going to tell you the whole story about what happened that night. Because I tell you what, I didn't mention that name. Shayna Alassal. You're not going to hear her come as a witness. No criminal case filed against her. But Shayna Alassal is the first domino that caused this chain reaction where Alex drove into a scene of a crash. Shayna Alassal, you're going to see, evidence is going to show that Shayna Alassal argued with her husband. Shayna Alassal drank. Shayna Alassal drove the wrong way on Highway 281. She drove the wrong way up the exit ramp on 281 and had a collision with a vehicle. Shayna Alassal was driving the wrong way on the highway. But for the conduct of Shayna Alassal, the truth is, but for the conduct of Shayna Alassal, Alexandra Siebert wouldn't have been sitting on the highway, parked in that long line of traffic that Mr. Escobar talked about. Alexandra Siebert would still be here. She wouldn't have been sitting in the traffic, but for the conduct of Shayna Alassal. Now, she's not here. She wasn't arrested. Shayna Alassal was driven home to meet her husband that she'd argued with by the police. And I hope she's watching today. I hope she's watching and listening to this, because she's not here to answer for what she did that put that man in the chair there, where the state is trying to convict him of killing somebody. Now, was he driving too fast? Yes, but he was driving too fast on the right way, going the right way down the highway. So that's the first thing. The state talked about causation in the PowerPoint, in the voir dire. They said, but for the conduct of him. That's what they have to prove, but for the conduct of him, Alex. Ms. Seibert would still be alive. But it's but for the conduct of her. But it's not just her. We're not just blaming Shayna Alassal, even though she did get drunk, drive the wrong way on the highway, have a collision, then get driven home by the police. Mr. Escobar talked about the police. Now, they do a difficult job. I used to be a police officer. Dealing with a scene like that is difficult, but they have got a responsibility. The police officers at the scene are the second domino in this chain of events that leads to the unfortunate death of Miss Siebert, because they've got a duty to protect. They got a duty to warn. And like Mr. Escobar said, they were on scene for approximately, the evidence is going to show that officers were on the scene for 22 minutes before there was another accident. On the highway, they put out no flares. Everybody's seen an accident on the highway where the police put out flares. They didn't put a police vehicle in the way. They didn't call one of their buddies on the radio to say, hey man, can you go and protect the scene? There's some flashing lights so people don't crash into them. Any of that. No one put on a luminous bright green jacket to say, hey, slow down, slow down. No one did any of that. Now we talk about the definition of recklessness. That's what Alex is charged with. What the police officers did at the scene is the definition of recklessness. It just is, it's the truth. Because you've got to know about a risk. You've got to know about a risk, and then you've got to consciously disregard it. How do we know the officers consciously disregarded a risk that they know about? It's in their policy and procedure manual. And you're going to hear it from the sergeant who used to be a detective. It's one of the basic policies that the police have. One of the first things they do is warn. You go to a scene of an accident and you warn. You make it safe. They didn't do that. They just got focused in on the first accident while traffic was building up, building up, building up, building up, building up, building up for 20 minutes. Now, he might have been driving too fast, but he was driving the right way on the highway. Shayna Alassal wasn't. She's the first but for. The officers are the second but for. Now, let's talk about Alex. Let me talk this Alex. Let me talk about Alex Castro. Talk about him. And it's going to happen throughout this trial. And I want you to watch out for it, please. State is trying to turn this into an intoxication manslaughter case. And it's not. He was out for 8 hours before this accident. And you're going to hear from him. You're going to hear from him on the videos talking to the officers. He said, I had 4 beers earlier, man, at the driving range. 8 hours before this happened. They're trying to turn this into an intoxication manslaughter case, and it's not. And they're trying to do that because recklessness is presumed. And they can't prove it. Don't let them do it. It is not. Don't let them play on your emotions so that you turn it into that. It's not. He's got to be judged on whether he was reckless or not. What does reckless mean? Remember what we said about reckless. Reckless is you know of a risk. You know of a risk, and then you say, no, I consciously disregard it, which means I know that traffic is stopped. Traffic is at a standstill in front of me. And this is where we're going to ask you, this is why we picked you guys. This is why I'm glad you're on the jury, because we're going to ask you to use your common sense when you look at this evidence, because apply your common sense to this. What the state is saying in this charge, this is why he has to be not guilty, because they're saying that he knows that there's this risk, but he disregards it. So they're saying that he's driving, the state's just said in opening that he's approximately driving 90 miles an hour. He's driving too fast the right way down the highway. So if he's disregarded the risk that he knows is ahead, remember, they've got to prove, and you swore an oath a minute ago. The judge gave you the oath. You swore to follow the law and the evidence. This is the last thing I'm going to leave you with. If you follow that oath, you've got to swear to follow the oath, to look at the law, which is that Alex Castro was aware of a risk and he consciously disregarded it. It doesn't make any sense, because you're saying, this prosecutor's saying he's doing 90 miles an hour and he's driving into a brick wall, because that's what they're saying. That's what recklessness is in this case. He is driving 90 miles an hour, according to the prosecutor, into a brick wall. That can't be the case. It makes no sense, because that means that's suicide. That's tantamount to him trying to kill himself. Common sense says that. If you are driving at the speed Mr. Escobar says he is, and you're driving into parked traffic, you're trying to kill yourself.
Sustained,
You're trying to kill yourself.
Object to argumentative.
sustained.
And that defies common sense. You see, I'm right. That's why he's objecting.
I'm going to object to argumentative.
All right.
Over the shoulder.
All right, number one, the objection is sustained. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's an improper argument. These are opening statements. Both parties are to inform you of what they expect the evidence to show you. And state your objection is sustained.
So I want you to think about why this happened. Why this happened, because there's only one person sitting in that chair today. and he's not the only one responsible for this. His actions are by definition not reckless. If anything, he ought to have known. He ought to have known. But to say that he knew and then he disregarded it means he's driving into a brick wall at 90 miles an hour. And that makes no sense. Shana Alasso's the first domino. The police officers are the second, and their investigation, failing to warn, failing to do anything to protect Alexandra Siebert. And she's a good person. I never met her. I've seen a lot of evidence about her. She did nothing wrong. It's a tragic thing. And you're going to hear, and it's
Sustained.
Judge, it's opening statement. It is
All right. Oh, counsel. When I
Thank you,
make
Judge.
my ruling,
I'll
those are
move
my
on, Judge.
rulings. So
And the
the
evidence
objection is sustained.
Thank you, Judge. I'm sorry. The evidence that you're going to see, the evidence will show that this is heartbreaking. You're going to see things. You're going to see things. I want you to be prepared for that. You're going to see things that are going to break your heart. They are. It's going to hurt your heart when you see it. It is. But remember these dominoes. Go back to the law. The state is going to try and make you see these vehicles outside.
Argumentative.
The evidence is going to show, the state is going to show you these vehicles outside in the parking lot. It's just the truth. And it's going to be shocking. I'm going to tell you now, it's going to be shocking. It's going to hurt your heart. But please use your common sense. Please follow the law, because you know the first domino in this case is Shana Alassel. She's not here. She was driven home by the police after driving drunk the wrong way down the highway. The second domino in this case is the police failing to warn anyone. And the third one is the only one that they've got. He's sitting here, is Alex Castro, and he's not negligent. He's not reckless. If anything, he's negligent.
Sustained.
I'm going to ask you to find him not guilty. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to have you all step outside in the hallway. Just give me 2 minutes, okay? All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right. So this is what I want to tell both sides. I understand sometimes passions run high and that everyone is trying to advocate their side. But this is what is not going to happen. And I want people to hear me and internalize what I'm saying. Number one, there are going to be legal objections. I'm going to hear the legal objection and I'm going to make my ruling. And once I make my ruling on the legal objection, there is not going to be a comeback at me that is a response that is not legal. So counsel, this whole thing where the state is objecting, saying it's argumentative, and I rule on it, the comeback answer is, no, it's not argumentative, Judge. It's like, everyone, keep your levels here, make your objections, I will rule on them. Once I rule on the objection, guess what? That's my ruling. Unless you have something new for me to hear, that's my ruling. And if you feel that my ruling is not correct, then that's what the Court of Appeals are for. That's what the Fourth Court is for, the 13th Supreme Court, wherever you want to take it. But I will tell you what I discovered in my experience trying both as a prosecutor and a defense attorney. The jurors just want to be here. They want to hear what the story is and hear what the facts is. But if there's this back and forth where people are tending to get into the point where it's disrespectful, then we're going to be in a different place and I'm going to respond differently. So in this court, I like everyone to treat everybody with kindness and respect, because that's the way you don't have tempers flaring. Because all the cases in felony court, these are very serious cases where potentially sometimes people are looking at prison. You have complainants' families who may be upset. I don't want their tempers to flare. You have the accused families who may feel like, you know, their family member, their loved one should not be here. So they have tempers as well. So I'm depending on attorneys. You're all professional. You should keep it here. Does everyone understand?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
All right, so the rule has been invoked. So state, if you can make sure that your witnesses know the rule has been invoked. So if there's anyone who's in the courtroom for the state or the defense who's planning on testifying, now is the time where you can no longer be in this courtroom. They've done their opening statements. Witnesses are going to be called. And if people who are planning on testifying view anything or in the courtroom or talk to people about testimony that they've heard, what's going to end up happening, if it's discovered, I will probably end up hearing motions from either the state or the defense asking that someone not be allowed to testify. Does everyone understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The other housekeeping matter, again, if people are putting things on easels, if people are taking papers to people, defense attorney, state attorney, if y'all need to move around to see it, you don't have to ask permission. You don't have to ask permission to approach a witness. But remember, when you approach the witness, after you have finished approaching the witness, which whatever you want them to see, please have a seat. All right. And Laura Metzel, did you have something for me to sign? All right, I'm going to take this up, then we're going to bring the jury back in. Yes.
Just one other one that matters, that Barbara West is the mother of the victim, Alice. And she is in the courtroom. She's not a material witness, but she may be brought in for punishment purposes if we get the punishment phase. I'd ask for her to be excused from this rule.
Judge, can we approach it?
Oh, I mean, either you want her, let's go on the record. All right, state, you're asking who be excused from the rule?
Barbara West, she is the mother of the victim. She was not at the scene. She didn't arrive at the scene, nor does she have any knowledge of what happened at the scene as an eyewitness account. She is solely the mother of the victim in this case, and she may be brought in for punishment purposes and not the first phase of this trial, Your Honor.
All right,
Judge, I can't agree to that. We would like to invoke the rule. I can't tell the state how to try their case. They could use other people. So we're invoking the rule, please, Your Honor.
all right. Your witness is allowed to say she's not testing in the first phase of the trial.
That's right.
All right, she's allowed to say.
Well, Your Honor, in that case, based on the court's ruling, can Mr. Castro's parents come in because they're only anticipated to be punishment witnesses if we get there, and I've just told them to leave.
All right, do you have any objections, state?
No.
All right, the state is saying that they have no objections to his parents being allowed in the room because they're only going to testify in punishment if we get there. Is that correct?
Correct,
Yes.
Judge.
All right, so do you still have an objection to the complainant's mother being present?
Well, the court's already ruled, Judge. I'm going off. Yes, I do, Judge, but I'm going on the court's ruling. I'm not waiving that objection, Judge.
No. Here's the thing. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, I maintain my objection. I respect the court's ruling.
All right.
Go and get them to come in then, Judge.
All right, they can come in. All right. And state and defense, we'll talk about the vehicles. I'm going to see where we end up in trial today, and then we'll talk about when specifically the vehicles should be here.
Okay.
All right. All right, let's bring the jurors in.
All rise for the jury.
A cough drop over there. All right, everyone, please be seated. State, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, may we approach very briefly?
Yes. Yes. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand. Please state your name for the record and spell it.
First name's Jeremy, Jeremy. Last name's Morgan, Morgan.
All right, and if you'll make sure that you keep your voice up so that members of the jury can hear
Yes, ma'am.
and the court reporter.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, state, you may proceed.
I work for the San Antonio Police Department. I've been employed with them for over 5 years.
What type of training did you receive to become a San Antonio Police Department officer?
Went through 8 months of rigorous training from April of 2019 to November of 2019.
And during this training, what did you learn about in order to become a police officer? What sort of subjects?
Learned various things ranging from tactics, penal code, traffic code, safety, how to de-escalate.
So what unit are you currently assigned to?
Currently assigned to North Patrol.
Border Patrol, what area does that cover?
It covers as far south as Patricia and as far north all the way to Comal County.
And what are your duties as a patrol officer?
My duties are to respond to calls for services and ensure the safety for the public.
And were you working on July 22nd, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Now, what shift were you working on that day?
I was working power shift.
What does that mean?
That shift rate starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and goes all the way to 3 o'clock in the morning the following day.
And on July 22nd, 2022, in the morning hours, did you have to respond to a call?
Yes, sir.
What call did you respond to?
Respond to a major accident at 281 TPC Parkway.
You're on man approach?
Yes.
Morgan, I'm gonna show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 1. I want you to take a look and see, do you recognize this?
I do recognize it.
What is it?
That is a copy of my co-band video.
And is it a true and accurate depiction of the video that your co-ban captured on that day?
Yes, sir.
Has it been altered or amended in any way?
No, sir.
Your Honor, state what offer State's Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Yes.
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection. Granted?
Corner,
Right-hand side?
right-hand side, sorry. Oh, this one. Officer Morgan, what are we seeing here?
See me driving northbound 281.
And roughly what area are we in?
We are in the Evans Stone Oak area.
And what area of the town, of San Antonio is this on?
This is on the far north side.
And is this in Bear County?
Yes, sir.
And so looking at the video, what are you approaching?
I'm approaching the exit ramp for Marshall Road.
And where was the accident you were responding to?
We were dispatched at 281 at TPC. Upon arriving on scene, we found that the crash was further north, right at the edge of the exit ramp for Marshall Road.
And what are we seeing up ahead on the highway in your co-ban?
Stop traffic.
How can you tell it's stop traffic?
Brake lights, vehicles are not moving.
And what do you do after you arrive at the scene?
I tried to make my way through, but knowing that I can't fit my patrol vehicle through there, even I split the cars, I decided to exit my vehicle and to assess what I had up ahead.
Approaching with what's been marked as State Exhibit number 2. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir.
What is this?
It's a copy of my body camera.
Okay. And other than redactions for legal reasons, has it been altered in any way?
No, sir.
And again, it's a true copy of what happened that day.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, state what offer State's Exhibit number 2.
Yes. Any objection? Well, let me ask you this. Have you seen State's Exhibit number 2 in its entirety? All right. How long is this? With regards to its hearing, how long is the video? All right, step back. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something I need to take outside your presence. I'm gonna have you all come back. I'm gonna say 10:30. It may be sooner than 10:30. You've heard some evidence in this case. You're not allowed to start internally thinking about this case outside this courtroom. You are not allowed to view anything about this case. You are not allowed to do any investigation. You are not even allowed to talk to each other about what you've seen so far in this courtroom. So you're not allowed, do not think about this case unless you are in this courtroom and you're listening to what's being presented. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna have you all back at 10:30. Everyone, please rise for the jurors. Defense, you have objections to State's Exhibit number 2. Have you had a chance to view it?
No, I haven't, Your Honor.
All right, State, if you'll play it so that defense counsel can see the redacted version. And sir, if you would like to walk around, you're more than welcome to walk around. We're taking a short break for them to view the video. Just remember, you're under oath and the rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state and the defense. Do you understand? All right, you may step down. You're welcome. Step your door.
Oh, no. Alright, I got EMS coming to check you out. So bear with me.
Your Honor, that's one portion. There's about 4 of them.
Oh, no, he has an objection to his client's statement. So wherever his client's statement is, please play it. And we'll see, defense if you still have objections.
Judge.
So pause it for one moment. If you'll pause for one moment. So the first statement, defense, where the officer has made contact with, I'm making an assumption that it's your client. Do you have any objections to that first part?
Judge, I'm not sure. Could we play it again very briefly?
All right.
And what's up in your mess? What's up, man? I'm okay. What happened? Yeah, cause we have another accident over there. Yeah, I hit my brakes and everybody stopped and I couldn't talk about it. Oh, there's another car. I got EMS coming to check you out. So bear with me.
All right, pause.
No objection to that, Judge.
All right, so defense has no objection to that statement. If you can move on to the next statement that's made.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, you the guy with this one? Yeah, you got the license on you? Yeah. This one is correct. What happened? Everybody hit the brakes on some of the brakes and it just, I couldn't. I tried to, I hit the brakes. Okay. Who'd you hit? You hit him? Nope.
And then from there, Judge, that's that second portion.
All right, any objection to the second statement?
No objection, Judge.
Oh, you're good. Alright, so it might be a good minute for you to be out here. We're waiting for our investigative unit to come out here, talk with you to see what happened. That's for you. So at the top, that's it's gonna be labeled the crashes right now. Case number's right there for your insurance purposes. And it's got all of units coming out of traffic investigations department. They'll come out here and ask you what happened. Do you recall what happened? Like, just traffic came to a stop?
I just remember everything came to a stop and I hit the brakes. And I just kept on the brakes and I kept seeing brake lights and everything just.
Do you know when you hit? Like, did you hit it? Did you hit the 18-wheeler?
Thought I hit him, yeah.
No, you hit it down.
He said I hit him, but I don't know what I flipped on. I know I flipped.
You like rolled or like spun?
I know, I rolled. I mean, you can see the scratches all on the side of the truck.
Yeah, I can see the scratches. I guess if you just roll like that. Try to figure out what you might. Hit on that.
I don't think I hit him. I think the 18-wheeler hit him and he stopped all of a sudden and I just got like, just tried as hard as I could to hit the brakes.
Yeah. All the way to TPC, because that's the nearest exit, because we can't have any more coming through here right now. Your truck stuck here for a little bit.
I'm just wondering if my wife's coming.
Yeah, if your wife wants to chill in the parking lot over there, yeah, it's like I said, it's gonna be a good minute.
I really just want to know what happened. All I know is everybody hit the brakes and I hit the brakes. Just didn't stop.
Yeah.
We were all going with traffic. We were all going 60. I had no more brake.
Well, I don't know. If it's a picture or not, I mean, I just told, I don't know how much your insurance is gonna catch
I was told, I full coverage on it. I'm not worried about that. I'm just
trying to figure out what's going on. You and me both. So,
That's the third portion is kind of broken up, Judge.
No objection to that, Judge.
All right.
But we have objection to everything after that, Your Honor. That's what the subject of the hearing we would like with the
All right,
officer.
continue with the video.
Yes, Judge, without the.
Yeah.
my car? So if you just wanna, I go out right here. You just wanna go for it. So what? My wife got trapped. I know, like I said, I can't stop other people from crashing their cars too, earlier today. Yeah. Well, is it for work?
No, I feel like I'm one time. Well, all I really actually it's earlier. I'm gonna let them know about my feeling and my.
Okay. How long was that?
It was.
Oh, wow, so kind of recent, then, like 2 months ago, right?
It wasn't really an accident, they tried to steal my bike.
Oh, for where?
That's all.
Cleveland, trying to steal it over there.
Yeah, it hit the ball. And there was like 4 pieces, like trying to just get off my bike, but one guy grabbed my arm, and I was pushing it. So I just hit it. And not a wall, but like I hit a curb. And I just flipped over.
Okay.
So I kind of saved myself, but
You say the bike at least?
yeah, bike fine.
That's good.
I've spent a lot, man. Like I was on my way to pick up my boy, and he's like, I need a ride. I'm like, I got you. I was hitting softball over there on the
Blanco, Texas or Blanco Road? Oh, okay.
I didn't know where he was at. And I was like, where you at? And I was like trying to put it in my GPS. And then little Honda just like came into me and like took over me. And I was like,
What do you mean the Honda slid into you?
I don't know, it just came like into me. Like, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to what she was doing. Or I didn't know it was her actually. So, officers told me it was her.
Yeah, so the driver was over there.
Yeah, the driver was just like erratic and it just like came into me. And it took me over and I was like,
Which lane were you driving in, do you know?
I wanna say I was in this lane, I was in the fast lane,
You were in the right hand lane? And she was driving erratic, which way was she driving erratic on?
we bounced all over.
Talk about get the median or what? Huh? Talk about hitting like the median or something, or
I
you mean
mean, I did, like, I thought she was pulling over.
Uh-huh.
And she came under me and I was on my side. There was nothing I could do, I was just like holding on.
Which part under you are you talking about?
Just like she came and put it
On your right side or your left side?
on the right.
But she came over and you on the right side.
From looking at it, I guess I went over her and stopped right there.
Yeah, so that caused you to roll over and
Yeah,
and so then you flipped for a good amount.
I was sliding.
Is he good?
Yeah, I don't know, take a little bit of it was good. Well, I spent right there. Couldn't get home.
I hear you, man.
Dude, this is horrible. The 18 was, but Mike, he's gonna get off.
No, he's not taking off, he's good, he's chilling. He can't take off with the vehicle yet. Cause this is part of our crash. It's gotta stay, even with all the stuff he has in it. Cause he already had his destination. Yeah. You'll go surprise her here, you, hopefully.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing, it's horrible. But
Yeah, and why don't we get them to talk with y'all first and then send y'all on your way, cause like,
I thought like I just get like a break. You know,
no, they let you do their interviews. Especially when it's on scene. It's fresh, right? Yeah, if you just wanna stay with them. We're gonna call, we're gonna type up the report. Y'all cool with watching them again?
That's the final portion, Judge.
All right, defense, you have objections?
Yeah, object to that, Judge. That was Mr. Castro was asked to leave several times, said that his wife is there to pick him up. He doesn't mind providing a statement, but the officer keeps questioning him. And under Jackson versus Deno, our position is that's a coercive involuntary statement because he's not allowed to leave. In effect, he's under arrest at this point. He's asked to leave. He said his wife's here. The officer says he can't even go to the restroom at this point. Yet they've still detained him. And this is 2 hours after the accident. So he's been on the scene for 2 hours. He's not allowed to leave. In effect, he's under arrest. He's been told he can't leave. Yet the officer keeps questioning him. And it's coercive and it's overborne as well. No statement should come in and we object to him, Your Honor.
All right, state.
Your Honor, here, Mr. Castro has never put in handcuffs. He's never put in the back of the squad car. He's allowed to be on his cell phone. He's allowed to stand on the side of the highway. He is allowed to use the restroom. The officer is walking with him because it is a highway. At no point is he ever actually arrested. He's allowed to leave. At the end of this night, Mr. Castro is never actually arrested. There are also 2 other drivers that were there at the scene that were involved in this car crash that are also asked to stay and are told to stay so that they can talk to traffic investigators. So he's not put under any more coercive pressure than the other 2 drivers. So we're asking that the court rule that his statements are voluntary at this point.
May I briefly respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
But we don't actually know that. I understand Mr. Escobar's point, but we don't know that, do we? Because we haven't seen any of the evidence to do with Mr. Stefanov or the
All right,
driver.
so let me just tell everybody, the only person I am focused on is whether or not the statement by Mr. Castro followed the proper rules and the proper law. That's it.
Thank you, Judge. In that case, it didn't, because it's irrelevant what happened to the other drivers. They're not an accused in a criminal case. Mr. Castro is. That's why he's not allowed to leave, because as we're going to see later on, they suspect him of, the officer makes comments on there about him hauling ass and stuff like that. Excuse my language. But he's a suspect. He's a target of this investigation already, and he's not allowed to leave. And the court knows, and I don't need to tell the court that handcuffs isn't the only measure of whether someone's arrested. In Texas, someone doesn't have to be told they're under arrest. It's whether their freedom of movement would make is impeded in such a way that a reasonable person under their circumstances would believe that they are under arrest. At this point, he said, my wife's here. Can I go? No, you can't. Can I use the bathroom? No. I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning because I had a motorcycle accident. No, you can't leave. Can't leave. You can't leave. He's under arrest, Judge. These statements can come in and we'll defer to the court. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any other objections to this other than the statements?
Yes, Judge, it violates his 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights under U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 10 of the Texas Constitution, and it violates 3822, and therefore it's 3823 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, Judge. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Judge.
anything else? All right. And State, if you could do me a favor, if you could just play the part that he is saying that is on the video.
Yes, Judge. So we want to skip, I just want to be clear.
No, he's saying that there's a part in the video where Mr. Castro is asking to leave and he's being told that he cannot leave.
Judge, if it helps the court, the timestamp is 3:12:27, I think, on the Zulu time.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's not.
And Judge,
It might be. That's where it starts.
I have at least a portion here with gas.
All right.
One day I was in this lane, I was in the back lane, you were in the right hand lane. And she was driving erratic, which way was she driving erratic on? She was bouncing all over the place. Come on, get median or what? Talking about hitting like the median or something? Like, I mean, I did. Like, I thought she pulled it over. And she came under me and I was just on my side. I don't know, I didn't know, I was like pulling on. Which part under you are you talking about? That's like, she came and put, on your right side or the left side? On the right side. Or she came over and on the right side. From looking at it, I guess I just went over her and stopped right there. Yeah. So that caused you to roll over and, and so then you flipped for a good amount. I was fine. Is he good?
Go home.
I did, man.
The 18 was looking like he's gonna pick up.
No, he's not gonna, he's been just chilling. He can't take off with the vehicle yet. Cause this is part of our crash. Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing. It's just horrible.
Yeah, it's why we get them to talk with y'all first and then if they're going away.
I thought it like, I just get like a break.
No, they let you do their interviews. Especially when it's on scene. Cause it's fresh. Yeah, you just wanna stay with them. We're gonna call through them type of photo report. Y'all cool with watching them again?
All right, if you can go back, just back to the part
Yeah, just
where he
wanna
says, talk to you first, then you can be on your way. Let me just rehear that, please.
Y'all first and then think. Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing. It's horrible.
Yeah, why don't we get them to talk with y'all first and then if they're going away, cause like. Yeah, just wanna stay with them. We're gonna type up a report. Y'all cool with watching them again?
All right, so is that the end of his statement?
Yes, Judge, in this video, we have any other statements made by the defendant having to do because our body and set our office.
All right, so with regards to this video, defense, your objections will be overruled.
Thank you, Judge. And if I may, just real quick, I just said to the state, there's another timestamp that I think we might have missed. And it's 3:25. It starts at 3:25:45. And that's another example of him not being free to leave before that one, but we didn't get to see that one, Judge. We're going to see it now, hopefully.
This is 3:25:45.
Yeah, it's just look after that when you can hear the officer talking,
Oh, I think it's muted.
but it's muted. Yeah.
Defendant is not around.
It's not, but you can hear the officer there on the, if I can proffer it, Judge, the officer is saying, Officer Morgan is talking to other officers, asking where the defendant is because he wants to know where he is. And then he tells the other officer, I think that's Officer,
Oh, no, you can remain seated,
Thank you.
but
I think he's telling Officer Chavaria, who we can see in the screen if it's not muted. Where is he? He said he's getting picked up and tired of waiting. And Officer Morgan says, if we can hear it, I can't cut him loose. Now, that is demonstrating his subjective intent to keep him there.
all
And if
right,
he's keeping him there, he's detained. And if he's detained, our argument is, Judge, that he's under arrest.
all right, objection is overruled. With regards to State's Exhibit number 2. All right, the jury's coming back in at 10:30. So if anyone wants to take a break, now's the time to take your break. All right.